Greetings, loyal subscribers and honoured guests. We're now just into February. You'll probably be watching this on the first Sunday in Feb, I would think. So it's about time I got on with showing you the pickups that I've acquired over the course of January. I did say that I wouldn't pick up very much, most likely, back in my December video, but that hasn't been the case for one reason. I decided to take all my old PAL N64 cartridges and the few Sega Saturn discs that I had about 6, into my local branch of CEX, and I got about 150 quid's worth of trade-in value for them. So and of course that all went on more games and stuff, so that's where the bulk of all this stuff has come from. And as a result, I've got so much stuff that I'm going to have to split my pickups video across 3 videos. So this will be part 1, and then I'll probably spread over the next couple of Sundays. I'll do part 2 and part 3, and in this first part I'm going to completely devote it to PS4 games and one PS5 game, and then other formats will be in the other parts, because there's quite a lot of PS4 games to go through. So let's get started. So the first one is called Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, and it's by Falcom, who make the Trails games and Ease. Those are their most well-known series. They've got a few others. Dragon Slayer back in the day, which is actually kind of a spin-off of the Trails series in a way. But this is an action RPG set in modern-day Tokyo. It's got some elements that are sort of like Persona. Let me start the trailer actually before I forget. Anyway, yes, I can carry on talking about it now. It's got some sort of life elements from Persona, where you sort of spend time in a high school talking to other students and joining clubs and things, and sort of building up your social links with people. But it's in the dungeons, it's hack and slash, and the combat is quite nice and feels nice with good combos and things, and yeah, lots of little secrets to find in the dungeon, stuff to smash, which is always satisfying. As you'll see, there's a theme going on with this pile of PS4 games, in that they're all RPGs. Not all JRPGs, there's a few Western ones later on. But yeah, I have been sort of on a bit of a JRPG/RPG kick for the PS4, picking up stuff now while it's cheap, in case the prices go through the roof, because that does happen quite often with role-playing games. By the time you've decided you want to get one, they're already too expensive. So yeah, some of these might not be quite as good as others, but I do know that Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus is supposed to be a good one, because there's a channel called The Gaming Shelf who recommended it. They speak really highly about it, and the last time they recommended something, which was the PS4 version of Sakura Wars, I really enjoyed it, so I trusted in their judgment and decided to add it to the collection. So I don't know how much longer this trailer's got, because I never really watched these trailers in advance before doing these videos, so I haven't seen them either. I have adjusted the volume of the trailers. I put them up a little bit because you couldn't really hear them. So that's the end of that one. I'll just switch back to my big cam again. So the next one is DotHack GU Last Recode for the PS4. This is about to come out on Switch, but the PS4 version's been out for quite some time already. A while ago now, there was an anime series called DotHack, Sign, I think it was, and I did watch that and I really enjoyed it. And the basic premise is it's set inside a fictional MMO, and some players are falling into comas mysteriously in the real world and vanishing from the game, and their fellow players are wondering what happened to them. Let me just start the trailer. Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, people have been falling into comas in the real world, and that's really what the mystery in the series is. You're working out what's happened. There was one series of 4 games on the PS2 initially, this Infection series, I think it was, and then this is a second series of 3, and then there's a 4th chapter that they've added as a sort of bonus epilogue to this remaster. I'm not sure why they haven't remastered the first series of 4 and they've just done this second series, because the storyline directly follows on from that. I guess you can sort of pick up what's going on still if you haven't played the other 4, but it's beneficial to have done so. So I'm hoping the first Infection quadrilogy gets brought over as well at some point, because I'd like to have all the series remastered. And some of these DotHack games in their original format on the PS2 have got ridiculously expensive, so these remasters are welcome so that modern day people can pick them up without having to spend hundreds of dollars or pounds on them. Yeah. So I shall probably play through these. I haven't played through the Infection series on the PS2 entirely. I've played part of the first volume, but I haven't got volumes 2 to 4. I can still play them though, because I've got a modded PS2 that will play burnt discs, so I can always play them that way. But anyway, yeah, that's DotHack GU Last Recode. Next up, I guess this isn't really an RPG technically, but it does have your typical RPG elements such as leveling up and ability points and stuff. And this is Gravity Rush 2, obviously the sequel to Gravity Rush. Neither of these games I think ever sold particularly well. Yeah, it's a shame neither of the Gravity Rush games sold especially well. The first one was a Vita game, and it was exclusive on the Vita for a long time until they did Gravity Rush Remastered on the PS4, and then this sequel just came to the PS4, no Vita version, because the Vita was pretty much dead and abandoned by Sony at that point. And they are cool games with really nice visuals. You're this girl who gets granted powers of gravity, so you can float around and then suddenly flip gravity and go barreling into enemies and kick them and stuff like that. And yeah, you can see sort of what I mean now. And you were this one character called Cat, who had a magical cat in the first one, and this second one there's another girl who you thought was evil in the first game, but she's actually okay, and I think she gets her powers from a raven or something. I can't remember. Haven't actually put this one in yet because I still need to play Gravity Rush Remastered, which I've got digitally. Digitally is really the only way to go for the first game, because you can't really find it anywhere physically. I think it did come out physically, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's why I can't find it. But anyway, time to move on again. Now I have the first of a couple of RPGs by Idea Factory and Compile Heart. This one's called Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force. and it's another game that's made its way over from the Vita. Yeah, I'm just trying to remind myself what this one is about, because I've got a couple of these Compile Heart games, and I've only played about the first hour of each one, and I get them confused with each other. But yeah, I do remember this one had some good sort of metal music in the bit that I've played from Nobuo Uematsu, who did the old Final Fantasy music. Yeah, so there are these fairies. I think this is the one about... No, I'm getting them muddled up anyway. Yeah, I think you're this soldier in the woods who gets wounded, and these fairies rescue you, and you go on an adventure with them, as you do. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't really tell you much about it, because I haven't played much yet. But I've come around on these Compile Heart games, because I tried one called something Neptunia, Hyper something Neptunia, years ago, and I absolutely hated it. It had horrible voice acting, the story was cheesy, rough graphics. I just didn't like it much at all, yeah, so I avoided these Compile Heart games like the plague as a result afterwards. But I've come around to them now, because just because their one series didn't really click with me doesn't mean I won't like some of their other stuff. So yeah, there's a bit of a gratuitous TNA in some of the scenes, but they're not too offensive really. I remember now, this is the one where you're supposed to go out and find 100 legendary weapons so that you can destroy something or other, and in order to do so you have to track down these fairies that are locked away in various weapons. There aren't 100 fairies, there's 40 I think, and you start off with the first one pretty early on. Yeah, so might get stuck into that one. Trouble is, I don't know which game to start with really. I've got my list of games that I want to play mapped out for this year, so I don't know whether I'll be able to fit any of these in. Maybe. Let's see. So, yeah, so that's the end of that one. I'm going to switch back. And the next thing is the other Compile Heart RPG, which is called Dragon Star Vania. This is the one about witches and dragons, as you might guess from the name. Yeah, so in this one you're a wounded knight who gets rescued by witches, and I think you're kind of force-fed dragon flesh while you're injured to bring you back to life, and when that's done to women in this world, they become witches, and a dragon grows inside them and eventually bursts out. Or, well, one of two things happens: a dragon bursts its way out, or they become insane. So it's not good for these witches either way. And you've been fed this dragon flesh, and it's not supposed to have any effect on men, but somehow you've got the witchy powers as well now, and you're one of them, and you have to sort of manage your inner dragon by feeding it. You need to try and make sure that your meter doesn't swing too far either way, either into badness or into dragon popping out of you and going, hello, I'm a dragon, I'm inside you. Right, so yeah, anyway, that's that one. Quite a quick trailer. Let's move on. Western games at the end here. This one is King's Bounty 2, and I have played some of the other King's Bounty games, because there've been more than one before this one. There was at least 3 or 4 expansions to the last one. Let me guess. Yeah, so I had this game on my radar before it came out. This is the Xbox trailer, but it's PS4 again, of course. And then when it came out, people said it had really bad technical problems. Didn't run very well, especially on the PS4. So I kind of forgot about it and decided not to pick it up. But it's been patched quite a bit since then, and improved a lot since it first came out. So now it's actually worth picking up, and it's actually cheap as well. So I have added it to my collection, and it's sort of a tactical game where you control large armies and wade into battle, but it's got sort of free roaming RPG sections in between, where it's more like something like The Witcher, where you just control one main character and roam around, and then you get into these larger scale strategic battles at key points. And I've quite enjoyed it so far. I think it looks quite nice. Not as good as the latest PS5 stuff, of course, but for a PS4 game, it's a decent looking game. The controls seem to have transitioned over okay from the PC, which is always the worry when these PC-centric games get ported over. So I think it was a worthwhile addition to the collection. And I haven't quite got stuck into it much yet. I have checked it out. You can choose one of 3 characters, which you're seeing on screen now. I went with the Sorceress, I think. I was a bit annoyed that there's no Ranger, because I always choose the Ranger class normally in these games, but there isn't one this time. But that's it for that. So the penultimate game for this episode is, I have to try and pronounce it, it's called The Dungeon of Nahulbuk Amulet of Chaos Chicken Edition. I watch a channel called Food for Dogs, which is an older lady who's really into her RPGs and buys these really elaborate special editions that I don't usually get because they get expensive. But she's the one who recommended this one for me. Let's take a look at the. So this is based on a French sort of parody fantasy series. I think it might be a podcast. But anyway, it's a sort of like a Terry Pratchett-esque parody of Lord of the Rings type tales. I'm not sure if the humour is going to be quite my taste. I do like Terry Pratchett, but this doesn't seem anywhere near as clever so far. But it's another sort of XCOM-esque turn-based strategy game where you have a party of about 8 characters, and you take turns with the enemies, moving them into cover and striking them from the side or behind, or using ranged attacks, that sort of thing. And you can equip the characters with all sorts of equipment that you find in the dungeon. And it's not a game I'd ever heard of before, but it intrigued me, so I picked that one up. It's another cheap one. All of these PS4 games are cheap, or I wouldn't have got them. But so let's move on to the final thing now. So the last game for this part is the one and only PS5 pickup that I've bought this month, and it's a game called Iron Harvest 1920 Plus Complete Edition. And this is like a classic PC style RTS. So yeah, I did have a go at this one last night actually, for the first time, and I quite like the huge steampunk style robots that stomp across the countryside. It's sort of set in an alternative World War II scenario where these steam-powered mechs were invented and they changed the course of the war. I think it's the Russians that are in charge rather than the Germans in this reality. I think this might be a trailer for some of the DLC actually, and not the main game. I didn't intend to include this one. It was supposed to be for the main game, but nevertheless, yeah, it's yeah. So you from what I've seen so far, there hasn't been any base building, but I think there is later on. I've just been controlling this one girl who was the daughter of a general who's been captured now, and you're sort of heading up this ragtag band of rebels, and taking them into skirmishes, and it's got your usual sort of RTS controls, which I have struggled with on the PS5 to be honest. It's would be way easier to play with a mouse and keyboard, so I might struggle with it in that regard, but it's got difficulty options, and I have set it to the easiest one because I'm not very good at RTSs. I did play the first couple of Command and Conquers back in the day, and I've defeated the first one, but mainly through an exploit that you could do. But I'm not good at RTS games typically, and with the added controls issue, I decided to set it on easy. Yeah, and you can muddle through like that. So that's it, really. I'll just switch back. So that's it for part one. Yeah, if I had done everything all in one big video, it would have gone on for far too long. So this way you can have a little bit to watch each Sunday. Yeah, and there should be 2 more parts for this month. But yeah, that's all the PS4 and the one PS5 stuff I've got. Hope you enjoyed watching this. Stay tuned on the channel. I've just started a brand new run of 13 episodes of Cover Tape Chaos Zapped, looking at the classic tapes. Episode 1 would have just gone out before this one, and then there'll be episode 2 in a couple of weeks, and then next Wednesday is the Cover Tape Chaos Zapped Next Generation next episode, because I've literally just been sent the files for the cover tape yesterday, so I'll look at them at this weekend and play through them and make the video for that one. So it's a bumper crop of Cover Tape Chaos episodes at the moment. I do need to get back to Turnip Boy and finish playing that, but I've just got too much else to do as well. So that's it. I'll so see you on the next one, and in the meantime, take care.